biggest names that I've worked with is Zion Williamson for the
Yeah.
Pelicans. He's hired me to do some marketing work, some PR work for him. We've had first round athletes in the NFL that I've worked for.
What's happening, y'all? Welcome back to another episode on D-Hop TV. On today's show, I'd like to introduce to you guys NIL agent Patrick Arryn. Appreciate you taking the time to come on the podcast, my guy.
Absolutely, D-Hop. It's a pleasure, man, and it's an honor, and thank you for having me.
Yeah, for sure. So before I get started on your journey, how's everything going for you in your personal life?
Man, it's going good. When I say this is the happiest that I've ever been,
Yeah.
I'm in a really good space in life. I'm huge on mental health. My daughter's healthy. My mom is healthy. She's happy. My spouse is healthy. She's happy. So, man, I'm in a really good place.
Okay, sure. That's love right there. How many kids you got?
I got one, and then I have a nephew that stays with me all the time. Him and my daughter are like best friends. So I call him my son too. My brother does a great job. His name is Corey Jerome. He does a really good job at raising his son, but I call his son my son as well.
Oh, okay, I feel that, man. So, let's go ahead and get today's show started. So, did you play any sports growing up, and how did you get involved in the sports agency?
I played every sport there was. My mom was a single mom of 4 boys. We all have different dads, and so we all kind of have like different backgrounds. But she did not allow us to stay in the house and just play video games all day.
Okay.
So from an early age, we were playing baseball, basketball, football, any sport that was available. We were playing it, type deal.
Okay. Which one would you say was your favorite?
This is going to sound, and a lot of people are shocked when I say this, but baseball was my favorite sport.
Real?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's probably the most competitive and the best sport that I played out of all the sports that I played.
Oh, for real? Okay. So, which one? What sport do you like to watch the most out of all of them? Okay,
football.
for sure. You're a Cowboys fan. We was talking about, man.
Yeah. I'm a Cowboys fan. So, man, I of course I have clients in NFL, and I root for them. They're my priority. They're the ones who pay my bills, who pay their invoices and give me a paycheck. But growing up, I've been a diehard Cowboy fan.
Okay, man. Wait, week 1, them Eagles finna get on y'all boys, man. I gotta throw that in there.
You go look at Dak's record against the Eagles.
We'll see.
So,
but going back to you, so you mentioned you had played sports. So how did all that shape up into your agent career?
So honestly, I never imagined that I would be a sports agent, NIL agent, representing professional athletes, marketing rep. I never imagined that I would be in the sports world. My goal was to be a financial advisor for churches once I graduated from Baylor University. And then some things transpired with, Baylor being I think we were number 2 in the country at one point at football under head coach Art Browse. And a lot of my close friends, one of my best friends is Lake Seastrunk. He was a number 1 running back in the 2010 class who went to Oregon and transferred to Baylor University. And so just being around those guys, my goals and my vision kind of transitioned. And I thought I was going to be a financial advisor for athletes. And then I took the sports agent route. Me and Kim Mulkey, who was the head coach for Baylor University, me and her, we built a really good relationship. And my first year being licensed, she trusted me to represent her athletes. And if you know anything about Kim Mulkey, she just won a national championship 2 years ago at LSU. And I believe she won 3 national championships at Baylor. So when you mention the name Kim Mulkey, you have the best of the best. And in my first year being licensed, Kim Mulkey and her program trusted me to represent her women basketball players in the WNBA and overseas.
Okay. So what inspired you to get into the game?
My best friend, his name is Lake Seastrunk. Best friend to this day. He'll, be my best man in my wedding. He and people think I'm being biased because he's my best friend and we come from the same hometown. At 33 years old, Lake turns 34 July 29th. He would be in the NFL today. There's some situations that happened with him that caused him not to, play in the NFL for a long time. But what caused me to get into this industry was I saw some of the representation that he had, and they didn't do him right. And that's
Okay.
just the God honest truth. They took advantage of a young man who trusted them, who didn't have the information that he needed to be a professional. And I said, I will never allow that to happen again. I will never allow a young athlete to be abused, to be taken advantage of. And when I saw that whole process with him, with a man who should be in the NFL today,
Yeah.
I said, I will never let that happen again. So that's what kind of transition my vision from a financial advisor to day-to-day operations with athletes.
Okay, that's real. That's love right there
Yeah.
for sure. Can you name any like athletes that you have worked with that you've represented so far?
Oh yeah. So we've represented, one of the biggest names that I've worked with is Zion Williamson for the
Yeah.
Pelicans. He's hired me to do some marketing work, some PR work for him. We've had first round athletes in the NFL that I've worked for, and again, coming out of Baylor, we had guys going first, second round all the time. So, but yeah, one of our biggest names that we've worked for and been hired by is Zion Williamson for the Pelicans.
Okay, that's real. So the like so as an agent, do y'all get like free tickets to go, or y'all just still have to pay for them on? Like, how did that be working?
So yeah, so I get that question asked a lot. Matter of fact, on my phone, if you go on my Facebook, one of my good friends from Temple, Texas, D Moore, he said,
Mhm.
"Pat, I know you get to hook up on tickets, and that's a myth. We don't. We have to pay for our tickets as
Really?
well. Even the NFL and NBA players, they don't get free tickets. They get a discount on
Yeah,
tickets, but they have to pay for their tickets as well.
and that's crazy. And they the ones playing it,
Yeah, yeah,
so
yep,
yeah, that's wild. Man.
yep.
So you often emphasize the word serves. Like, how is that mindset? Like, why is that word so important? You dealing with athletes?
So serving, I believe life we're born to serve, and it's whether you're an NIL agent, a sports agent, a doctor, a teacher, a dad, a husband.
Yeah,
We are born to serve, and that's just in our DNA makeup. The way God made us is to serve. I mean, the His only begotten Son, Jesus Christ, didn't come to be flashy. He didn't come on private jets. He didn't come with a Rolex on his wrist. He came to serve people, and he came to serve people that didn't look like him,
yeah,
neither. So I'm big on servanthood. I believe if you serve with integrity, your business will overflow. Baylor hired me not long ago to speak to almost 2,000 individuals. It was a freshman incoming class and their parents, and then also some guests. And I told them that serving will eventually bring profit.
yeah.
Um, if you keep serving, regardless where you start at, whether it's at the bottom with no resources or whether you have resources, if your profit will come by serving with integrity.
Yeah.
So I'm big on servanthood. If you serve right, if you serve properly, the business to come.
So going back, so you had mentioned Baylor. So you just signed the number one defensive tackle. How did that relationship come about?
So it's an interesting relationship, and this goes back to servanthood, and then also always treating people with respect, because you
Yeah,
never know who God is going to use.
for sure.
And we represent right now Jamarion Carlton, who's the number one defensive edge in the country,
Mhm.
and he also signed the largest NIL non-quarterback deal on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah,
His mom was my classmate. She was my classmate growing up in middle school, and we grew up together. And her son became a not just a great athlete, but he's a great young man.
yeah.
If he didn't play football, this young man could be an engineer, an attorney, a doctor. And so, yeah, I grew up with his mom, and when
Okay.
he started to excel in football, of course, his mom knew what I did for a living, and
Yeah,
she says, "Pat, all these people are blowing me up, but I trust you because I've seen how you've worked for others." And then Temple is such a pipeline to the Division 1 level or college football period, but also the
yeah,
NFL. I represent Jared Wiley, who plays for the Kansas City Chiefs.
yeah.
He's out of Temple. He went to Texas, transferred to TCU, and so he's from Temple. And she sees all the success that Jared has, so she's like, "Pat, it's a no brainer that I need you to represent my son."
Okay, yeah, that's dope right there.
Yeah.
So going back to NIL, you mentioned the NIL is like the wild west. So what's the feel like you like the biggest misconception within NILs?
So first, I want to say, before NIL became legal, I believe in 2021 of July 4th,
Yeah.
I was a huge advocate for it.
Hmm.
Uh, Going back to my days at Baylor University, my roommate was Lake Seastrunk. My other
Yeah.
roommate was Alex Austin, who was the number one triple jumper in the state of Texas, I believe.
Yeah.
And I would watch some of these athletes score touchdowns and perform and break records in front of thousands of people and millions of people on TV. And then we would be hungry at 1 o'clock in the morning because we were growing young men.
Yeah.
So we'd have to go, I would have to go. I don't want to put nobody else out there. I would go to the corner store and steal some chips because we were hungry.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how the heck did we make all these people money, but we can't even afford some snacks type deal?
Right.
So, so I'm a huge advocate of NIL, and it's the wild, wild west. And so I guess to answer your question is I agree with it. I think these players should be getting compensated the way they are. I think they should be getting compensated even more. But I believe there needs to be more structure.
Yeah.
Because at 18 years old, when I was in college, I had $50 a week to my name.
Yeah.
Some of these kids have $50,000 a month, $100,000 a month to their name. So I think there just needs to be more structure. The male brain, especially when you talk about men's sports, it's women's sports as well, but men's sports, the male brain doesn't fully develop till we're 27, 28 years old. So you give any 18, 19-year-old, $1 million, they're bound to make some mistakes.
I can only imagine like guys like Reggie Bush, Matt Leinart, Vince Young. Hey, we talk about a lot of people. I can imagine how much money they were making if the NILs was back then when they was playing.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, Reggie Bush, Vince, they say, how much you think Reggie Bush would make a year? I would say Reggie Bush would easily be a $7-8 million a year NIL player, and NIL, like currently right now, that number, of course, is going to go up in the future.
Yeah.
Vince Young, same, but the one that I think went crazy with NIL was Johnny Manziel. Just because he was with, Vince Young and Reggie Bush, of course, they had the celebrity status and the fame, but Johnny Manziel was with Drake. He was with LeBron James. I think, people think I'm crazy, but I think Johnny Manziel would have made 15 to 20 million easy a year. So.
Yeah, for sure. So staying on the NIL topic, like what do you feel like is the biggest red flag that an athlete should look at when they're about to take an NIL deal?
So the biggest red flag when taking an NIL deal is making sure that you're not limited to only representing that one brand.
Okay.
And what I mean by that, if Starbucks coffee, well, let me not use Starbucks coffee. Let me use McDonald's. If McDonald's comes and says, hey, we want to give you an NIL deal to promote our double cheeseburger.
Yeah.
And it's fine if it's limited for, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, but don't lock into something that's, a long term, because you could have missed out the opportunity of getting representing by Whataburger, Whataburger double cheeseburger. So that's the biggest thing. And honestly, the biggest red flag is actually representation.
Yeah.
So one of the main reasons, like I said, I'm in this business is to make sure that these young men have the best representation and they're not getting taken advantage of.
Yeah.
There's so many NIL agents, quote unquote, now, and a lot of these guys have no license, no certifications, no expertise, and they're locking these young men into deals, and they're terrible deals.
Yeah.
And then a lot of times they can't get out of it because they signed this contract with somebody who's not even certified, who's not even legit. So the biggest thing is having proper representation to make sure that you're doing proper NIL deals.
So what do you feel like separates a certified agent to somebody who's just in it to just doing it for clout or whatnot?
Everybody starts from the bottom. So I'm not saying, starting from the bottom is a bad thing, but the Players Association, again, we're talking about football. If you go to the NFLPA, .com, you can find out if somebody's certified or not. There's a search engine bar that says search agent or search marketing rep. And I'm not saying 100% of the time you need to use somebody on the Players Association for the NFL, but if they're on that website, that means they have clientele in the NFL.
Okay.
And so most of the times they have experience and expertise on how to navigate this NIL and these new deals.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing is, again, if you got a best friend who wants to, be the next big agent or next big NIL agent, I'm not saying not use him, but make sure that you have somebody on your team that knows how to navigate this, because you can easily get taken advantage of.
What's one big success story in your career that you had in your career so far, like the biggest moment that you've had that you always remember so far?
Ooh, there's been a lot of them. Biggest success story in my career, I would say, I don't want none of my clients to get mad at me because I don't want them to think that I'm picking favorites. But the biggest success story in my career so far, it would be Oh, there's a couple of them. Wow, that's a hard question. So I don't want to use names,
Yeah.
but the biggest success in my career is when I see my clients, Jared Wiley, for example. He had his
Mhm.
draft party at his aunt's house, and when they get that phone call that they've been drafted to a team, and just seeing like the expression on Jared's face, on his mom's face, on his dad's face,
Yeah.
on his family's face, that's like the biggest success for me.
Yeah.
Background about Jared. A lot of people don't know that he was ready to quit and give up on football when he was at the University of
Oh, for real?
Texas.
Yeah.
He was the best tight end on the roster, but because he went through 3 different coaches, they went with their guy. So when Jared Wiley hired me, I told him, hey, we're hitting the transfer portal and you're going to another school. He went to TCU and had a phenomenal career. Led the country in most touchdowns as a tight end.
Yeah.
So once he got drafted, after going through his process and going through his journey, seeing his face and seeing how happy he was, that's like my biggest success.
Yeah.
Jamarion Carton, the number one edge in the country. When he just announced that he would be attending Baylor University, seeing his mom cry, seeing
Yeah.
his family just happy that he's finally committed to a major Power 4 school.
For sure.
That's where I thrive off of.
Okay, yeah. I've seen him play out here a few
Yeah.
times. I was like, oh yeah, he gonna be one of the ones. He
Yeah.
gonna be next up for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Baylor, yeah, because I seen he had a lot of offers because he was definitely a big time recruit coming out of here for sure.
Yeah. He could have went to any Power 4 school. His final five ended up being LSU, Texas Tech, Texas,
Yeah.
Baylor, and A&M.
Oh yeah, I almost cried when I saw he picked Baylor because I'm an LSU fan.
Okay, yeah,
so
yeah.
I wanted him to pick LSU.
Yeah,
I said, yeah.
Yeah, LSU was up there. It was a hard
Yeah.
decision. Austin Thomas is a general manager at LSU. I probably have out of all the GMs, because colleges have GMs now.
Yeah.
Out of all the GMs in the country, and that's from Power 4 to JUCO, I probably have the best relationship with Austin Thomas.
Okay.
That's just a genuine. You wouldn't have never imagined he was the general manager for probably one of the most historic, dominant colleges in the country, and he's just a down to earth guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you help athletes build long term and mindset beyond the NIL? So how do you help them with their career beyond that?
That's a really good question, and
Yeah.
I think this is why people see me now. Let me get this out there. I'm getting, Coach Courtney knows folks blow me up like crazy now.
Yeah.
So shout out to Sonia, shout out to Lauren, who handle my day-to-day operations.
Yeah.
But folks see me now and they think, wow, Patrick, you're just doing it. This success is amazing, but they don't realize I've been doing this since 2016.
Yeah.
I had some of my close friends that I went to Baylor with who wouldn't give me a chance to represent them. And, I've been told no a lot. And it hurt, but I knew that's part of the process. And that's a part of the process with any business you own.
For sure.
You're going to get told no a lot. Folks aren't going to believe in you. And then when things pop off, then everybody wants to be your friend. And then everybody who didn't believe in you wants to come back and act like they believed in you. So, let me get that straight. This has been almost 10 years of grind. And, now I think it's at the right time is when it's popping off. So, go back to your question. I'm sorry. What was the question that you asked?
The question, how do you help athletes beyond NIL deals?
Perfect. So when I got started in this industry, I also went and got my real estate license.
Yeah.
Again, I was going to be a financial advisor, but it's a conflict of interest for a certified sports agent to also be an athlete's financial advisor when it comes to the standard representation agreement. So when I got certified in the WNBA and FIBA, I knew I couldn't be a financial advisor. But I read books. I did a lot of studying, and I'm one of those guys that when our business phone is blown up for our professional athletes and now our NIL athletes, everybody wants to make a sales pitch.
Yeah.
But one of my biggest things that I tell my athletes is hey, when somebody's trying to sell you something, ask them, are they doing it?
Yeah.
And if they aren't doing it, then 90% of the time you don't need to be doing it.
Yeah.
So I own real estate, I own property, I own Airbnbs. Me and one of my business partners, we own a cannabis farm in Edmond, Oklahoma, where it's legal, of course. And so I went and got information on how successful people become even more successful.
Yeah.
So I help my athletes outside of football with real estate. I give them information. I don't have any issues with saying, hey, I don't know it all or I don't have it all.
Yeah.
So if there's something that I don't know or I don't have, I can pick up the phone and I can call a mentor who knows everything about stock markets, who knows more about real estate. So to answer your question is, man, I have way more than just my, license to be an NIL agent. There's a lot more that we do at the office to make sure our players are taken care of
Okay.
off the field and off the court.
So, how do you handle marketing your players and then also protecting their image and their brand? How do you balance those?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So we do marketing always starts with local. So
Yeah.
for example, Jamarian is my most recent big name client. Jamarian, we're going to tackle once NIL is legal in Texas, of course. So it will be when he's enrolled at Baylor in January. We're going to tackle his local community, which is Temple, Texas, and Bell County and Central Texas.
Yeah.
So what we do is we start his football camps. We create a brand for him. We create his charity, events, and then we go to Baylor University next. We go to Waco. I go to Baylor University's license department, and I say, hey, let's start selling his jerseys. Let's start selling his gear. Let's start selling his cell phone covers and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And then we go statewide and then nationwide. And then with Jamarian, he has you're going to see him on ESPN 30 for 30. He has an amazing testimony. His mom has an amazing testimony. So I believe before he even touches the NFL, because he has to be in college for 3 years, I believe he's going to have a bestsellers book in the country because of his story outside of football.
Yeah. Okay. So what does trusted circle mean, and why do you feel like that's a big thing with athletes?
Say that again.
Making sure you're having a trusted circle, like having a trusted team behind you. So,
yeah. So again, it goes back to my best friend Lake Seastrunk. I don't believe he had the best representation, and having a trusted team is how you stay successful even when that ball flattens.
Yeah.
Even when your playing days are over with, you gotta have a circle of people that you trust, because football players, basketball players, any athlete, their schedule is intense. OTAs is about to start in about a week.
Yep.
They literally got to be up at 6 a.m. and then they're not done till 8, 9, 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So you got to have people that you trust to, make sure your bills are paid, to make sure your investments are, make sure your financial advisor is doing their job, make sure your agent and marketing rep is doing their job, off the field. And so, yeah, having a trusted circle is huge. And not even just for athletes, for myself.
Yeah.
I have a few people that, have access to my bank accounts, that have access to my personal stuff, but I have to trust them.
Yeah.
This is kind of off topic, but TD Jakes is one of my favorite, not just pastors and preachers, but public speakers. And he said something to me. He said, when I was in West Virginia, he was in West Virginia.
Yeah.
He said, I had a $25 camera and I had 10 members.
Yeah.
And he says, I wouldn't grow past that because I had a control issue.
Yeah.
He said, I wanted to be the deacon. I wanted to be the door greeter. I wanted to be the cameraman. I wanted to be the pastor.
Yeah.
But he said, once I started trusting my team to do their part, and play their role in this vision, then that's when we moved to Dallas and he became the TD Jakes that we know today. That's one of the largest churches in America, the probably biggest black pastor in the country and probably in history. So having a trusted circle is so important.
Yeah, sure. So the last question I got before I close this podcast, what advice can you give other agents who would like to be in your shoes one day?
So work hard. Never cut any corners.
Yeah. Sure.
Do serve your clients. It goes back to what we talked about earlier in this podcast. Serve your clients at 1,000%.
Yeah.
Use all your resources, give all your energy. This industry isn't easy. I've had to sacrifice so much time. My daughter's 10 years old.
Yeah.
And it's so hard for me to say this, and I'm not a man that cries a lot, but every time I bring this up, I get emotional. But about the first 4 years of my daughter's life, she's 10 again, my mom raised her a lot. But it's because I was recruiting. I was in Austin. I was all over the country trying to, build my business. So those important years, I was hardly around. I was there, but just hardly around. But it was to give my daughter the life that I've never had.
Yeah.
So this, when folks see me on social media or in person, or when they see other great sports agents or NIL agents or marketing reps, they think this is, an easy industry to tap into. And the old saying is, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it.
Sure.
Some of the top agents that I know, it took them 5, 10, even 15 years to even make a profit in this industry. So it's what I would tell that young agent is, work hard,
Yeah.
serve, allow your passion to take control of your everyday business life. And back to what I was also saying in this podcast, your passion will eventually turn into profit.
Yeah.
If you're trying to get into this industry just to make a profit, you're going to fail.
Yeah.
You need to be passionate about serving athletes. You need to be passionate about working for athletes. And then if you're passionate about it, if your passion is genuine, I firmly believe that God will always turn your passion into profit, whether you're a sports agent, NIL agent, marketing rep, you own a podcast, teacher, whatever it is. Allow your passion to guide you, and then the profit will come.
Yeah, going back. Yeah, you just gave me some advice. Yeah. That's the podcast. That fits me right there for sure.
Yep,
But I say, appreciate you taking the time to come on my podcast for sure. Definitely got to run it back
Yeah.
one of these days. But I know you about to be real busy because football.
Yeah.
So I know you finna be, I definitely got to be tapping in with you for sure.
Yeah, man. Yeah, absolutely, man. Keep going. Directly to you. I looked at your social media. I've been following you since we became, mutual friends.
Yeah.
Just keep doing it, man. Again, I'm year 2016, so that's almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And again, like we said in the beginning of this podcast, when I first started in 2016 to 2019, me and my daughter was sleeping on a mattress, literally. I didn't even have a bed frame. I had a TV on the floor. I was driving Uber. Jared Wiley was one of my big dogs, that I knew that was going to be great in the NFL. So while he was at the University of Texas in 2018, 2017, while I was making sure he was taken care of on the weekends while he was asleep, I was driving Uber to, pay my bills and to take care of my daughter. So you have to start somewhere. Just keep building one day at a time. And again, your passion will turn into profit. I no longer have to drive Uber, thankfully, but it'll grow. It'll grow when it's genuine. So that's my biggest advice. Keep serving, man. And then the one thing that I've realized, you never know who's watching you. It just blows my mind how many messages I get on social media from folks who said, Pat, I saw you say this, or I saw you do this, or man, you're such an inspiration. You're at the ESPYs, you're at the NFL draft, you're at the NBA draft. You gave me hope. And I'll share this last story with you. And again, I'm not a man that cries a lot, but I'll never forget it. And it's outside of sports. His name is Peter, and he gave me permission to tell this story. Me and Peter are really good friends to this day. He's from California. I believe he lives in California still. I was recruiting an athlete at Baylor University. And God let me know if I'm wrong, but I love sharing the story. I went to the bar. I was like, let me go have a drink at the bar in Waco, Texas. And I haven't been back in Baylor. This was, I graduated in 2016. So this was a little bit before the pandemic. So 2019. So a couple years. And I met this young man named Peter. And me and Peter got to talking and having drinks. He bought me a drink. I bought him a drink. And it was his birthday. His birthday was coming up at midnight. And I don't know how this interaction at a bar ended up talking about God. And we started talking about God and about faith. And then, I felt bad. I'm like, man, I'm having a drink and I'm telling this man how much I love God and how God has brought me through this and brought me through that. And then I started telling this young man that, was trying to, finish college, like, hey, stay strong. It's not easy. Keep going. And then long story short, this young man sent me a message the next day that brought me into tears. And Peter told me, he said, Pat, he said, if I didn't meet you last night, I would have committed suicide.
Dang.
And it to this day, man, it breaks me down because, my mom was a single mom. My dad has never been around. My dad just came back in the picture. He's in rehab right now. And, I'm a kid from a small town who grew up in poverty.
Sure.
And when people see me now, they just, they think the fame, the glamour, but they don't know that I come from a real hard background.
Sure.
And this young man who's not an athlete, who, he's Peter. And he said, Pat, if I didn't meet you at that bar, I would have committed suicide. And me and Peter are good friends to this day. And
that's good. I'm glad you was there.
I said, Peter, I'm a grown man, and you're the only man who, who can make me tear up like this. And people are always watching, man. And at 2019, I wasn't nothing, bro. Nobody knew who I was. I was, I was driving my best friend's car in 2019 and on food stamps. And God used me in that bar, and so just keep going. And so I'm huge on that, bro. I'm really big on that. You ain't, On outside of sports, I hang out with my daughter. I hang out with my friends.
Yeah.
Lake Sea Strong, my best friend, and yeah, man, you just be you. Just keep being you. Be authentic. Be genuine,
Yeah,
and
appreciate that.
you'll help more people than you'll ever imagine by
Yeah,
just being you.
that's the best for sure.
Yep.
Yeah, like I said. But if you guys like today's video with Patrick Arryn, make sure you guys like and subscribe to the D Hop TV podcast. Appreciate you, man.
Yeah, absolutely,
Appreciate it,
bro.
man.
Appreciate you, bro.
Yeah.